Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the serene embrace of his sister's bedroom, the ambiance was serene, interrupted only by the whisper of satin and the periodic tap of a camera. Romeo meticulously posed before the full-body mirror, captivated by the reflection staring back at him. The sleek purple skirt, accentuating his slender waist, was complemented by a delicate silk blouse, its ivory shade enhancing his complexion. His fingers traced the blouse's refined buttons with intent, certain of the image he wished to capture. The auburn locks, which had evolved from his signature messy crop, now framed his face gracefully, revealing a newfound delicateness in his appearance. With each snapshot, a grin emerged on Romeo's lips, mesmerized by this transformation. Romeo let out a soft plea to himself. Just another one, as he struck a poised stance. At that moment, a chiming intruder in the room shattered the silent communion. His sister's name flashed on the screen of his phone, which lay forgotten on the dresser. For a moment, he considered ignoring it, but guilt gnawed at him. They'd barely spoken since she left for summer camp 3 weeks ago. With trembling hands, he reached for the phone. "Hey, Cassie," he said, trying to keep his voice steady as he angled the camera to show only his face. "Romeo! I've missed you so much!" Cassie's voice rang out, full of excitement. "How's everything at home? You look different." Romeo swallowed hard. "Everything's fine. How's camp?" "It's amazing! I've made so many friends and—" "Wait, are you in my room?" He felt his cheeks burn. Yeah, just tidying up a bit." Cassie's eyes narrowed. Are you wearing my blouse?" The weight of the moment pressed down on Romeo. He could lie, make up some excuse, but as he looked at his sister's familiar face, concern etched in her features, something inside him crumbled. "Cassie, there's something I need to tell you." He took a deep breath and turned the camera, revealing his full outfit. The silence that followed felt endless. "Oh, Romeo," Cassie finally said, her voice soft. "How long?" "Years," he admitted, the word barely above a whisper. "I've been exploring this part of myself for a long time. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." Cassie's expression softened. "Don't apologize. I just wish I'd known. You look beautiful, by the way." Relief washed over him, tears pricking at the corners of his eyes. "Really? Really? That skirt always looked better on you anyway," she said with a gentle laugh. "So, do you want to talk about it?" Romeo nodded, sinking onto the edge of the bed. "I've been thinking about transitioning. I don't feel right as Romeo. I think I want to be Meredith." "Meredith," Cassie repeated, testing the name. "It suits you. Have you told Mom and Dad?" "Not yet. I'm scared, Cass. What if they don't understand?" Cassie's face grew serious. "Listen to me. You're my sibling, and I love you no matter what. We'll figure this out together, okay? When I get back from camp, we'll sit down with Mom and Dad. I'll be right there with you." Meredith, it felt right to think of herself that way now, wiped away a tear. "Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you. That's what sisters are for," Cassie said with a wink. "Now, tell me everything. When did you know? And more importantly, how did you get your eyeliner so perfect?" They talked for hours, laughing and crying in turns. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the window, Meredith felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For the first time in years, she felt truly seen. "I should go," Cassie said reluctantly. "But, Meredith, I'm proud of you, and I can't wait to go shopping together when I get back." After they said their goodbyes, Meredith stood in front of the mirror once more. She smoothed down the purple skirt, admiring how it swished around her legs. With a deep breath, she picked up her phone and opened the camera app. "Hi," she said softly to her reflection. "I'm Meredith. It's nice to finally meet you." She snapped the picture, capturing the moment she truly began to embrace herself. As she looked at the image, a sense of peace washed over her. The journey ahead would be challenging, but with Cassie by her side, Meredith felt ready to face whatever came next. The next few weeks passed in a blur of anticipation and nerves. Meredith spent her days researching transition options, joining online support groups, and practicing her makeup skills. She'd always been fascinated by cosmetics, but now she approached them with a new sense of purpose. One afternoon, as she was experimenting with contouring techniques, her phone buzzed with a text from Cassie. "Surprise! Coming home early! Pick me up at the bus station tomorrow?" Meredith's heart raced. She hadn't expected Cassie back for another week. Was she ready for this? The thought of going out in public as herself for the first time was terrifying, but the idea of disappointing her sister was even worse. "Of course," she typed back. "Can't wait to see you." That night, sleep eluded her. Meredith tossed and turned, her mind cycling through worst-case scenarios. What if someone recognized her? What if she didn't pass? What if Cassie changed her mind and was embarrassed to be seen with her? As the first light of dawn crept through her curtains, Meredith gave up on sleep. She showered, taking extra care with her skincare routine, then stood in front of her closet. After much deliberation, she settled on a flowing maxi dress in a soft shade of green. It was feminine without being overly flashy, perfect for a first outing. Her hands shook as she applied her makeup, but years of secret practice paid off. When she finished, the person staring back at her in the mirror looked polished and put together. Different, yes, but undeniably herself. The drive to the bus station was nerve-wracking. Meredith kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see Romeo looking back at her, but each time she saw only herself. Nervous, excited, and finally authentic. She parked the car and took a deep breath. "You can do this," she whispered, gripping the steering wheel. With one final check of her appearance, she stepped out into the warm summer air. The bus station was bustling with activity. Meredith kept her head high, ignoring the curious glances from passers-by. She focused on scanning the crowd for Cassie's familiar face. "Meredith!" She turned at the sound of her name, spoken loudly and without hesitation. Cassie was running towards her, a huge grin on her face. Without missing a beat, she threw her arms around Meredith in a fierce hug. "You look amazing," Cassie said, stepping back to take in her sister's appearance. "That dress is perfect on you." Meredith felt tears welling up. "You have no idea how much that means to me." Cassie linked her arm through Meredith's. "Come on, let's grab my bag. I want to hear all about what you've been up to while I was gone." As they walked through the station, Meredith felt her confidence growing. With Cassie by her side, chatting and laughing as if nothing had changed, the stares of strangers seemed less important. They loaded Cassie's bags into the car and set off for home. As they drove, Cassie filled the air with stories from camp, but Meredith could sense an underlying tension. "So," Cassie said finally, her voice growing serious. "Have you thought about how you want to tell Mom and Dad?" Meredith gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Honestly, I'm terrified. What if they kick me out? What if they never speak to me again?" Cassie reached over and squeezed her arm. "Hey, look at me. Mom and Dad love you. It might take them some time to adjust, but they're not going to stop loving you. And no matter what happens, you've got me. We're in this together. Remember?" Meredith nodded, blinking back tears. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Cass." "Let's not find out," Cassie said with a grin. "Now, what do you say we have a little fun before the big conversation? I saw a new boutique opened downtown while I was gone. Want to check it out?" The idea of shopping in public was both thrilling and terrifying, but looking at Cassie's encouraging smile, Meredith felt a surge of courage. "You know what? Let's do it." They spent the afternoon trying on clothes and giggling in dressing rooms. Cassie had an eye for styles that flattered Meredith's figure, and by the end of the trip, they'd assembled a small but versatile wardrobe. As they left the store, bags in hand, Meredith felt a newfound sense of confidence. "Thank you for this," she said as they walked to the car. "I never thought I'd be able to do something like this." Cassie bumped her shoulder playfully. "Get used to it, sis. This is just the beginning." That evening, as they unpacked their purchases and chatted about plans for the rest of the summer, the sound of a car in the driveway made them both freeze. "Mom and Dad are home early," Cassie said, her eyes wide. Meredith felt panic rising in her chest. "I'm not ready. I can't do this." Cassie grabbed her hands. "Yes, you can. You're strong, Meredith, and I'll be right there with you. Do you want to change, or—" Meredith looked down at her green dress, then back at her sister. "No," she said, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. "This is who I am. It's time they knew." They made their way downstairs, Meredith's heart pounding with each step. She could hear her parents in the kitchen, their voices muffled but cheerful. "Mom? Dad?" Cassie called out. "We're home! And there's someone I want you to meet." Their parents appeared in the hallway, smiles turning to looks of confusion as they took in the scene before them. "Romeo?" their mother said hesitantly. "What's going on?" Meredith took a deep breath, feeling Cassie's reassuring presence beside her. "Mom, Dad, there's something I need to tell you. My name is Meredith, and I'm your daughter." The silence that followed felt endless. Meredith watched as a range of emotions played across her parents' faces. Shock, confusion, concern. She braced herself for the worst, but then her mother stepped forward. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "How long have you been carrying this alone?" And just like that, the dam broke. Meredith found herself enveloped in her mother's arms, tears flowing freely. Her father joined the embrace, his strong arms encircling them both. "We love you," he said gruffly. "No matter what, we'll figure this out together." As they pulled apart, Cassie joined the group hug. "See?" she whispered to Meredith. "I told you it would be okay." The next few hours were filled with conversation, questions, explanations, and plans for the future. There were moments of tension and misunderstanding, but underlying it all was a current of love and acceptance. As the night wore on, Meredith felt exhaustion settling in. The emotional roller coaster of the day had taken its toll. She excused herself and headed upstairs, Cassie following close behind. In the safety of her room, Meredith finally let out a long, shaky breath. "I can't believe that just happened." Cassie flopped onto the bed beside her. "I'm so proud of you, Mare. You were amazing down there." Meredith smiled, the nickname warming her heart. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Sure you could have," Cassie said, nudging her shoulder. "But I'm glad I was here for it. So, what's next?" Meredith lay back, staring at the ceiling. The future, which had always seemed so daunting, now felt full of possibility. "I don't know exactly, but for the first time, I'm excited to find out." As they drifted off to sleep, side by side like they used to do during childhood sleepovers, Meredith felt a profound sense of peace. The road ahead would have its challenges, but she was no longer walking it alone. With her family's love and support, she was ready to embrace her true self and all the adventures that lay ahead. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Meredith's parents, true to their word, threw themselves into supporting her transition. They scheduled appointments with therapists and doctors, researched support groups, and even attended a PFLAG meeting to connect with other parents of transgender children. Cassie, ever the organizer, took charge of Meredith's wardrobe overhaul. They spent countless hours shopping, not just for clothes, but for accessories, shoes, and makeup. Meredith found herself drawn to flowing dresses and skirts, reveling in the way the fabric swished around her legs as she walked. One sunny afternoon, as they were sorting through Meredith's old clothes to donate, Cassie held up a worn baseball jersey. "Remember when you used to live in this thing?" Meredith laughed, running her hand over the familiar fabric. "I thought if I embraced everything masculine, these feelings would go away. Turns out, I just really like baseball." Cassie tossed the jersey into the keep pile. "Who says girls can't love sports? We'll find you a cute outfit for the next game." As summer began to wane, Meredith faced a new challenge, deciding whether to return to college as herself. She'd taken a semester off to focus on her transition, but the thought of going back filled her with equal parts excitement and dread. "What if my old friends don't accept me?" she asked Cassie one evening as they sat on the porch, watching the sunset. "What if I can't handle the pressure?" Cassie turned to face her, expression serious. "Mare, you are the strongest person I know. You've already faced your biggest fear by being true to yourself. College will be a piece of cake compared to that." Meredith smiled, grateful for her sister's unwavering support. "You're right, and at least I'll have you there to show me the ropes of college girl life." "Oh, absolutely." Cassie grinned. "Get ready for late-night study sessions fueled by face masks and rom-coms." As the start of the semester approached, Meredith worked with the university to update her records and arrange for appropriate housing. Her parents helped her move into her new dorm room, a single in a co-ed building that felt both terrifying and thrilling. The night before classes started, Meredith stood in front of her mirror, fiddling with the hem of her favorite green dress. She'd chosen it carefully for her first day, wanting to feel confident and comfortable. A knock at the door startled her out of her thoughts. She opened it to find Cassie standing there, a gift bag in hand. "I brought you something," Cassie said, stepping into the room. "A little good luck charm for tomorrow." Meredith opened the bag to find a delicate silver necklace with a small butterfly pendant. "It's beautiful," she breathed, fastening it around her neck. "I thought it was fitting," Cassie explained. "You've gone through your own metamorphosis. Now it's time to spread your wings." Tears pricked at Meredith's eyes as she hugged her sister tightly. "Thank you for everything." The next morning, Meredith took a deep breath before stepping out of her dorm. The campus was alive with activity, students rushing to and fro, the air buzzing with excitement and nervous energy. As she made her way to her first class, Meredith felt eyes on her. But for the first time, she didn't shrink away from the attention. She held her head high, the butterfly pendant cool against her skin, reminding her of how far she'd come. She found a seat in the lecture hall, smoothing her dress as she sat down. A girl with bright blue hair plopped into the chair next to her. "I love your dress," the girl said with a friendly smile. "I'm Zoe. What's your name?" Meredith felt a warmth spread through her chest. "I'm Meredith," she replied, her voice clear and confident. "It's nice to meet you." As the professor began to speak, Meredith opened her notebook, ready to embrace this new chapter of her life. She knew there would be challenges ahead, but she also knew she had the strength to face them. With her family's love, Cassie's unwavering support, and her own growing confidence, Meredith was ready to soar. The semester flew by in a blur of classes, study sessions, and new experiences. Meredith found herself thriving in ways she never had before. Her grades improved, she made new friends, and for the first time, she felt truly comfortable in her own skin. One crisp autumn day, as leaves in shades of gold and red drifted from the trees, Meredith sat on a bench in the quad, lost in thought. She was so engrossed in her reflections that she didn't notice someone approaching until they spoke.
"Meredith? Is that you?"
She looked up to see Thomas, a friend from her pre-transition days. Her heart raced as she nodded, unsure of what to expect. Thomas sat down beside her, his expression a mix of surprise and warmth. "Wow, it's been a while. You look happy." Meredith felt a smile spread across her face. "I am happy. Happier than I've ever been, actually." They fell into easy conversation, catching up on the past year. As they talked, Meredith felt a weight she hadn't even realized she was carrying begin to lift. Here was someone who had known her before, accepting her now without question. "Listen," Thomas said, as they were about to part ways. "A bunch of us are getting together this weekend for a game night. Would you like to come? I know everyone would love to see you." Meredith hesitated for just a moment before nodding. "I'd like that. Thanks, Thomas." As she watched him walk away, Meredith felt a surge of gratitude for how far she'd come. A year ago, the idea of reconnecting with old friends would have terrified her. Now, she found herself looking forward to it. That weekend, dressed in a cozy sweater and her favorite jeans, Meredith made her way to the off-campus apartment where the game night was being held. She paused outside the door, taking a deep breath to calm her nerves. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, fingers brushing the butterfly pendant that had become her talisman. She knocked, and the door swung open to reveal a room full of familiar faces. There was a moment of stunned silence, followed by a chorus of warm greetings. "Meredith, you made it!" "It's so good to see you." "Come in, we're just about to start a new game." As she settled into the group, laughing and joking with friends both old and new, Meredith felt a sense of belonging wash over her. These people saw her for who she truly was, and they accepted her without hesitation. Later that night, as she walked back to her dorm under a sky full of stars, Meredith pulled out her phone to call Cassie. "Hey, sis." Cassie's voice came through, warm and familiar. "How was game night?" Meredith couldn't keep the smile out of her voice. "It was amazing, Cass. Better than I could have imagined." As they talked, Meredith felt a profound sense of gratitude. For her sister, who had been her rock through everything. For her parents, who had embraced her with open arms. For her friends, both old and new, who saw her for who she truly was. But most of all, she felt grateful for herself. For the courage it had taken to embrace her truth, to step into the light as her authentic self. As she ended the call and got ready for bed, Meredith caught sight of herself in the mirror. The person looking back at her was confident, happy, and at peace. She was Meredith, in every sense of the word, and she was exactly who she was meant to be. With a contented sigh, she climbed into bed, excited for what tomorrow might bring. The journey hadn't always been easy, but as she drifted off to sleep, Meredith knew without a doubt that it had been worth it. She was home, not just in her dorm room or with her family, but in her own skin. And that, she realized, was the greatest gift of all.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!